Hey guys, I'm going to keep this real brief. My name's Harper Zeitz. I am a research and extension assistant in organic agriculture here, so I'm just going to be moderating this event. So I'm going to be passing out these cards. They're for Oaks purposes. You've probably already seen them since you've been in at least one session, I assume, but please fill them out and leave them where you are seated, and I will come collect them at the end. And also, if you need a pen, I have a couple extras, so just let me know. But that'll be all. Thank you all for coming so much. This is awesome.
Hi, everybody. So just for our panel, make sure you talk into the mic because that is how they'll record us. So even if you project, I just make it a point to make sure we know that. Okay, I am Jann Knappage. I am actually going to be moderating our panel today. So just a brief introduction before I pass it over to our panelists. I work for the University of Kentucky's Nutrition Education Program. So that is my day job, and I work on food systems and food access programs across the state for folks that are low income, so SNAP and SNAP eligible, so folks that receive EBT money each month. That is my target audience. So gardening and farmers markets, farm to school, that's my jam. And then I also have a small farm in Menifee County with my partner and my daughter. And I run the Red River Gorge Farmers Market. So food access and food insecurity are part of my everyday work in my professional and personal life. And so I'm really excited to be talking with these 5 folks who also dedicate their work and their lives to this. So just going down the line, and then I'll let them all introduce themselves. We have LaToya Drake, we have Taylor Ryan, Sharon Stone, Ray Strobel, and Martin Richards. And they're going to each introduce themselves and kind of explain their work and who they are to you.
Hey, y'all. I'm LaToya Drake, Barron County, Glasgow, Kentucky, born and raised. And I work for the Nutrition Education Program like Jann does full-time. My role is a program coordinator for nutrition, media, and marketing. So I get to teach folks creatively about food. And it's really important for me to do that because I'm a product of benefits like EBT, food stamps, all those good things. And I'm proud to talk about that because I wouldn't be here in front of you today without of those services. So I think it's important that we connect folks to local food. And what good is this local food if you don't know how to use it? So it's really important for me to encourage folks to use that and eat flavors that they enjoy and eat food creatively that is healthy for them.
Yes, I'm Taylor Ryan. Good afternoon. She, her, hers. I'm the executive director and founder of Change Today, Change Tomorrow. I'm originally from Paducah, Kentucky, and so I'm a transplant. Like many people in Louisville Move and Work, we're transplants. We focus on food justice and public health for Black families in the West End. We do a lot of different things. Our most popular program is called Feed the West. It's a free grocery and delivery program where we are rescuing grocery products from Trader Joe's as well as partnerships along the city with different urban farmers, and we are bringing those products back to the West End. We are acting like Robin Hood, basically, because for some reason there's 20 grocery stores on one end and 2 on the other, and so we have to make sure everybody's fed while also eliminating food waste.
Can you guys? Hello, I'm Sharon Stone. I am the operator of Two Sons Farm and the farmer liaison for the Woodhill International Market, which is located in the Woodhill community. Before I started to farm, I was a 2nd grade school teacher, and a lot of the kids that I taught, they live in the Woodhill community, so that's the reason why we decided to put the market over there so that our families could have access to fresh fruits and vegetables and anybody else in the community that actually needed it. Our market is based on a sliding scale with 3 different tiers. Everyone is welcome. As the farmer liaison, I partner with several farmers in the local community. Our motto is we don't negotiate with farmers. We need to pay them what the food is worth. So if anybody wants to partner with the Woodhill International Market, come and see me after this is over.
Hello, my name is Ray Strobel. I'm with Bar Farms, so I'm a farmer perspective on the panel. Food justice has been one of our values from the beginning of when we started farming, and have tried lots of different things in relation to food justice and making food accessible and engaging in those movements. So can talk about that more later.
My name's Martin Richards. I've often said I'm a recovering farmer, which I am, and now I'm a recovering executive director. So I'm unemployed. I was trying. So I'm trying to think what to say that's relevant to this group. So in 1994, our farm was the 63rd certified organic farm in the state by Kentucky Department of Agriculture certifying. We were also a founding farm of Kentucky Organic Growers, cooperative that was started by Community Farm Alliance and the Burley Growers Cooperative. I went on to, and have been a part of CFA. I'm a member now for 28 years. But I was also the policy fellow in the year 2000 during when House Bill 611 was passed. And then jump forward, I became executive director of CFA in 2010 and just retired from that. I am still a member of CFA. I'm still on the policy committee, and I still represent CFA in a number of national networks like the National Produce Prescription Coalition that works on food as medicine policy, kind of on the state level there too, which that policy piece is what really hooked me into CFA. And it's what I really love and what I'm continue to work on.
Can you hear? Okay, thank you. So as you can see, our panel, everybody has a different perspective, but there's also this overlap. So we're just going to go through kind of setting the stage. What is food insecurity? What does it mean to have food access? And then we're going to kind of go through what are the things already happening in this realm to kind of bridge the divide, and then how can you as farmers or food system advocates or workers get plugged into this work. So I guess for our panel, the first thing is, what is food insecurity and or, depending on what you want to answer, food access from your perspective, from your experience.
So as Jann mentioned, I worked with folks, and we work with folks who have limited resources and are food insecure. But on a personal level, I have been food insecure or hungry, and not just before we ate lunch today. And hunger is more than belly aches and stomach pains and growling, right? Hunger looks different for everyone, and that's where we think of the term of food or nutrition security. And for me, as someone who grew up on EBT, my mom raised me on SSI, so limited resources. And my mom still survives on those, and I help her survive on those because I'm blessed because she raised me to be better than she was. But through those resources, she always had a hot meal. But by the third weekend of the month, the stamps were low. So what did a lunch look like on a Saturday? That lunch might have looked like some saltines and some Vienna sausages. That lunch might have looked like some ramen noodles. Is that nutritionally sound? Does that meet all 5 food groups? Am I hungry? No. My belly's not growling. I'm satisfied in that way. But am I nutrition secure? And when we think about nutrition security and hunger, we also think about diet-related diseases and how that these diseases are the #1 killer of all of our neighbors, our family, of everybody. So how do we get more fresh foods into people, and how do we recognize that is important? And part of the work that I do is sitting in rooms like Ms. Cruz talked about this morning, sitting at the tables to just story tell and not be ashamed of my story, because there's lots of potential trapped in poverty, right? I'm not necessarily trapped there completely, but I have to help support those folks in my family and my circles and help to elevate them out of poverty too. And that's what we want to encourage you guys to do today through food.
Are we all answering every question, or are we bouncing around?
We can do whatever. If you have something to say, you answer it. If you want to pass.
I'm going to pass on this.
For me, from a teacher standpoint, if my kids were hungry when they came to school, there was no learning for that day. And we know if children learn in school, it will help them get to the next level in life, because education is important. But if you're sleepy, if you're hungry, I couldn't get anything out of them. So I would make sure that there was something in the classroom that they could eat, something to drink before we would even start reading groups. Because for me, when I was growing up, food was scarce, but like you, we always had food. But my mom and dad stressed the importance of education. So when I started to teach, I had to make sure that my kids had everything that they needed to be successful. There was no need for me to feel sorry for them, just to make sure that they had things so that they could be successful at the end of the day.
I'm going to try to talk about the farming perspective of this. And so I think to add to the conversation, when I think about food injustice, I want to take a bigger picture view and look at the structures that create food injustice. And I think it was Leah Penniman who said, our agriculture system is not broken, it's working exactly as it was designed to work. So the structure is designed to create food insecurity. And then also farms in the 80s, the policies of get big or get out, that contributes to food insecurity as well. So by being small farmers and raising food and participating, that is a way to start to, I feel like that's getting to the next section, but understanding those structural inequalities and the ways that our society is built on them in so many levels, and learning about that is really important to address the issues.
LaToya, I wish my mother would have been willing to take food stamps when I was a kid. You know, but she came from a farming family, and she just would not, right? But I was thankful that our neighbors got government cheese. I don't know if anybody actually tasted that or just know of it. But I'm glad that our neighbors got government cheese and shared it with us. And then I just kind of forgot about being hungry, right? But you know, it's amazing. I think in Kentucky, we think of ourselves as an ag state, right? And we really are, even still by heart, even though 50% of us live in urban areas. But the numbers are kind of unbelievable. And, you know, in that 13% of adults, 22% of children, and 18% of seniors in Kentucky are food insecure, meaning they're not sure when their next meal or tomorrow's meals are coming. And that's unacceptable, right? And I'm glad LaToya talked about there is a difference between food security and nutritional insecurity. I mean, we have, and Ray kind of alluded to that, right? Our current system since World War II has been set to produce as many calories as cheaply as we can, and we've gotten very, very good at that. But the consequence of that, at least in Kentucky, is that 66% of adults and 38% of children are overweight from empty calories, right? And 47, almost 5% of us do not consume enough fruits and vegetables. I mean, I'm speaking to the choir, but I'm also part of one of you, right? And 38% of Kentucky children ages 10 through 17 are considered overweight or obese. And, it's just while I was with CFA and asked to present to an online conference for the military that I just learned that those issues are really huge right now to our national security, because our armed forces are having really difficult time filling the warm bodies out there, who are not overweight or not, suffering from some nutritional deficiency, right? And that opened my eyes, right? And it's just indicative. I think that's where the country finally is connecting the dots between these issues.
So now that we laid the groundwork a little bit, I think it'd be good to talk about, so we said, okay, this is a problem in our state, in our nation. So what is happening right now that is trying to combat this problem? What is going on to create food access, and specifically local food access, to get this food to the people who need it? And we don't have to go in a row if anyone wants to go first. I can walk the mic to whoever.
Told you I don't have a problem talking.
To maybe cut Martin off.
Yes. So whoever's controlling the mic, feel free. So you may know that Community Farm Alliance has a number of programs. Kentucky Double Dollars helps address this issue, as well as Fresh RX for Moms. Sandra Ballou Barnes is sitting right there. But I'll tell you, CFA, we did not start Kentucky Double Dollars to address food insecurity. I'll be honest with you, right? We started that program from research, and this is one of those times when you might have to cut me off, right? So I started out as a tobacco farmer, and the great thing about growing tobacco is the whole system was set up for you, right? And this time of year you got your quota, extension and the banks and everybody was set up, and you had a price that you knew that you could get if you did a good job. So you made money from all that, right? With growing food, none of that, right? And it's still that way, is none of that. So Community Farm Alliance, we started looking at, we started doing research. And as you also may know, the Farm Bill, 75% of the Farm Bill goes to food and nutrition programs, right? And we also looked at how much doggone money is coming into Kentucky through SNAP and the other 13 programs, right? And it's my God, if we could capture some of that, we could start building a support system for farmers. And honest to God, that is why we started Kentucky Double Dollars, to start capturing some of those dollars through SNAP and WIC and Senior Farmers Market Nutrition programs, and providing incentives to get people to spend that money here so it stays in Kentucky and not go to Benton, Arkansas. But we also learned that there's a reason why those programs, and that's where the nutritional security and the food security issues started coming up. And it was, at least for me, it was an eye-opener, right, to learn about the situation with hunger in Kentucky. And I'm really proud that CFA started those programs and has continued to run those programs and continues to use those programs as models and think about how can Kentucky do better. Is that enough for now?
Yeah, that's perfect. We'll come back if you got more.
Yeah, because to add to what Martin says, we help to bolster those programs through education and resource provision with Extension and the Nutrition Education Program. So we have an abundance of free and resources for you, from soil sampling, right, as a farmer, to recipes that you can inspire folks to eat the goods that you're growing. With the Nutrition Education Program, additional resources that we have to address food security include our website, which is planeatmove.com. There's a blog on that website that has recent and relevant topics related to food security and food and cooking. Because like I said earlier, what good is having access to all this food if you don't know how to use it, or it doesn't taste good, or you don't know how to prepare it, or you don't know how to can it, and all of these things. So that's what we're doing at Extension to address food security. Also, we have our Hunger in Kentucky initiative, And that's just an educational piece with a bunch of publications and flyers and infographics, just to make folks aware of what the issue of hunger is and food security is. Because if you don't know there's an issue, and it doesn't relate to you, you don't know the importance of addressing it. I always talk about, like, I'm in the extension family now, but I got issues with family, just like we all have issues with family. And oftentimes, with extension and other things, if people don't see the problem right in their face, or they don't experience the problem, they don't know it's a problem. So that's where extension can come in your community and do these kind of programs to just teach about hunger, to teach about food with our SNAP Ed assistants. There are over 60, right? And there's FCS agents or agents in every 120 of our Kentucky counties, many of them more passionate than others about doing this work. But in your community, maybe you can be the person to head up this and encourage your extension office to get more active in food security work, because we have an abundance of resources to make things happen.
Okay, so Feed the West. Currently, we are partnering with Trader Joe's, and we pick up their grocery surplus Monday through Thursday. So we have a partnership with DoorDash every Monday where we are delivering our groceries to our immobile families, because access to transportation in the West End is very low. I live in Victory Park and we have 30% access to transportation, so how can we expect people to get groceries? And so we have our partnership with DoorDash that does deliveries. We are also in 3 different neighborhoods throughout the city. So we're in 40203, 11, and 12 with our grocery pop-ups. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're serving at least 75 people with free groceries. They don't have to show us anything. We believe that barrier-free is the way to be, so I don't need to see how poor you are. We are all out here young and getting it, okay? I trust and believe if you are here for free food, even if you leave and sell it, that's what you needed. Outside of our free grocery program, we also believe that we're just different and we're unique because we're Black people serving Black people. So we're playing music, we're talking about events. We believe in information dissemination, and so we know there's a lot of resources in the city, but they're really up here. They're using big words. Nobody can understand that. And so one of the things that we focus on is just chopping that information down so that people that just are normal people can understand the words that are on the paper. You know, think we had 17% turnout for the last primaries, and so one of the biggest focuses for our neighborhood is increasing the people going to vote. Do you even know where to vote, how to sign up to vote? There's a lot of information that's just up here that we're trying to pull back down to the masses. Outside of that, we believe in power building. So you're not just coming here to get your free box. This is not a food pantry. You're getting your full-fledged groceries. You're getting in line. You're seeing somebody you haven't seen in 17 years. It's a fellowship. It's a big, it's a big to-do, and it's a vibe. So it's not just, bring your sadness and stand in line, and we're going to take a video and bring the news. It's not that. It's come get fulfilled, come be in a space with people and know that you deserve free food, because 40% of all the food is being wasted. It's just a travesty to know that on one end of the city, we've got a surplus and thousands of pounds of food are being wasted, and on this side, we have literally people are dying. It's not making sense. Outside of that, we host a collaborative meeting called Not Another Secret Meeting, where we build power with other organizations who are focused on similar missions. We call it that because in Louisville, there's a lot of secret meetings happening, and we're not invited to those tables. So we'd like to invite the other people who are also not invited to those tables to help build power and funding with us. We do a lot of different partnerships throughout the city. So we're currently working with the Food Literacy Project to do a soup and bread making family event. So families come out on Monday nights, they make a different soup and bread. We did a similar project with Play Cousins over the summer, where we had an 8-week food cooking program with families there, and at the end, families got to receive Instapots, because you can't just show people how to cook the food, you gotta give them what they need to cook it in, and a lot of times we're just, I'm not gonna say we, the philanthropic nonprofit industrial complex thinks that people just have everything, and you go, here's a recipe, and you go, well, what if I've never tasted an eggplant before? And so we're backing all of that back up to go, here's how you store this eggplant, here's how you cook this eggplant. Taylor's gonna go live on Facebook tonight and cook this eggplant so you can see what it looks like when you cook it, so when you take it home, you don't waste it. And so we're trying to have like a holistic approach to meeting people where they are and understanding that you don't have all the tools, but we can help you understand the tools and navigate the tools.
So at the Wood Hill International Market, we try to meet the clients where they are. And one of the reasons we do that, have been successful with it, is because a lot of the people that live in Wood Hill, like I said before, we taught the children and we know those families. So a part of what we had to do as school teachers is we had to do home visits. So we got to meet these families. So we look at the behaviors that we saw when we went to go do the home visits. Of course, we talked to the kids when they were at school, and we got to figure out what types of foods that they actually ate and what they enjoyed eating. So when we started the Wood Hill International Market with the surveys and then the polling of the folks around the community, we were able to partner with the farmers and say, hey, we need an abundance of tomatoes, we need a lot of potatoes, because we knew that those families actually wanted those things. So with that being said, we also do what I call an ask. We basically ask the people what they want. We seek out the resources that they need. And then if we don't see a lot of our families pop up, we go and start to knock on the doors. So that's where ask comes in. So with the market, with the sliding scale, people are able to choose what they can afford. We don't ask any questions. They get online, they pick the scale that they want, and everybody gets the same thing in every box. When they come to pick up, they just pull up, we put it in their cars, and they take off. So we make it easy for them. Sometimes if they can't come to pick up, there's a refrigerator there. We put it in a refrigerator so it won't go bad and they can come and pick it up. A couple times too, we'll just get in our cars and go deliver, just to try to make it as easy and friendly as possible for our families.
So we grow organic vegetables and pastured meats. We offer a veggie CSA and a meat CSA, beef, chicken, and pork. And so our main thing is a CSA, community-supported agriculture, while people subscribe and they get a box of vegetables for the season. We also sell at farmers markets, to restaurants, and a little bit of wholesale. So that's like the main part of our business, like production, communication with members, and food justice is really important. And so it hasn't ever felt like an add-on, but it also is like, our main thing is we're a farmer, and there's like so many things that you have to do if you're a CSA farmer, like you have to grow it, you have to market it, you have to have the communications, you have to show up at the farmer's market, you have to do all the business and the taxes and the, everything, right? So when I was thinking about what I wanted to say, the three sort of main things for me come down to values and intention, openness and curiosity, and relationships and partnerships. And so for us, since food justice has been important to us, we've, there's lots of different things that have been ways that we've engaged with food justice work over the years. So some of the farmers markets that we chose to go to, that we started at the Smoketown Farmers Market that took the WIC program and $double. The Phoenix Hill Farmers Market takes the senior nutrition vouchers and $double. We've participated with New Roots since the beginning of New Roots, and that's a way that we can participate in food justice. We experimented with trying to take SNAP for a while, which failed, but I guess in the values and intentions, we just decided to switch CSA platforms to a new platform. And one of the factors is that this new platform is going to be one of the first platforms to accept online SNAP for farms. And so that wasn't the only reason we switched. There were lots of other reasons that went into the whole picture of our farm and where we are, but it definitely was a compelling factor in making that decision to switch. So I think the other thing that I wanted to say is food justice doesn't just happen in the food injustice and food access issues don't just happen in the city. They happen in rural areas also. And so I think we really need to be aware of that and like what's the picture in our head of what like food insecurity looks like and check that for ourselves. And so one of the things that we tried is I tried starting a Fresh Stop in Brandenburg, which is my local area, that ran for about 4 or 5 years and then stopped. And there were lots of successes. So it ran for a while and then it stopped, but it was not a failure. It wasn't a failure because it stopped. You know, there were we fed a lot of people and there were a lot of learnings in that, and there were a lot of relationships built. And so I think, right now I want to talk about a newer partnership that we have, which is with an organization, a nonprofit called Bringing Justice Home. And there's actually 2 people here from Bringing Justice Home because I really wanted them to be here because I love the work that they're doing. So Maria and Constance, just raise your hand. If you want to talk to them, please talk to them and support them. So they're a nonprofit that is a delivery service that serves medically frail neighbors with supplies and groceries, and they were our CSA members. And so they came up to our farm picnic and did a hayride, and they started talking about their nonprofit, and I was really curious because I'm really interested in food justice, and so I started talking to them and asking them more questions. And I'm not sure what this looks like from their perspective, but from my perspective, you know, so then a few days later, they sent an email to say like, hey, we would love to partner with you on a pilot program to order a CSA box for our neighbors, the people that we serve, and we want to use the existing food system and plug into the existing food system as a way to address food access. So I was like, yes, of course. And so then there's a few back-end administrative things that are maybe a little harder on my end, but not that much. It's not that big of a barrier. So, you know, the curiosity, the leaning in, to make it happen. And then the other thing is relationship. And so, you know, we're going to continue next year, and with a partnership, I'm also, one of the things I try to do is I do a farm newsletter, and I like doing my farm newsletter. I talk about the farm, I talk about recipes, the point about like, you have to teach people how to cook. Like people are like, what do I do with this? But I also try in the farm newsletter to talk about farm and food systems type of things occasionally. And one of the things that I do is talk about other organizations. So to say like, hey, CSA members, this organization Bringing Justice Home is doing really great work and you should fund them. Like, here's a link to help fund them. I think I can say more later, but what I want to say there is just leaning into the curiosity and the relationship, and that relationship and continued curiosity and continued, you know, a relationship goes back and forth in both ways. Like, that's what leads to the next step.
Okay, so I'm gonna maybe put Sharon on the spot for this beginning of the next section, because I think we met as a group on Zoom prior to this and kind of decided on what we wanted to talk about in the flow, and I remember your response to this was something that I was like, yeah. But let's talk about, since a lot of the room is either farmers or related to the food system in some way and clearly interested because they're in here with us, and we had talked about what can farmers and or food system professionals, how can they be a part of the solution? And I feel like, Sharon, you had some thoughts on that, and then whoever else wants to jump in.
You might have to refresh my memory, but but I do feel as though, I'm going to put my farmer hat on too. Once we get on our farms or in our grow space, we just have tunnel vision, and we don't see what else is happening around us. So I feel as though that if we get out in our community as farmers, get to know our neighbors, get to know the people that go to the churches down the street from us, and let them know what we're actually doing. Maybe the conversation will start. Hey, I know this farmer down the street. We've got this lady at church that needs a box of food on a weekly basis. Is it okay if I come to your farm to pick that up so that I can take it to her? Yeah.
And there was one other, you had talked about the international folks wanting certain products and farmers leaning into that.
Yes. So for us, once we started to get going really well with the Woodhill International Market, and I was deeded a piece of land to grow on, and we knew what a lot of these families wanted to eat and wanted us to grow. We had a lot of families from the Congo, Nepal, a lot of Latin American countries. So, you know, I talked to the farmers and I would say, hey, can you get us some, say for instance, kohlrabi and more eggplant? Because a lot of our families wanted to use those items in their cooking process. But you know, when COVID hit and we were still doing the home visits, a lot of those families started to grow their own food in their backyards, and their plot was probably half the size of this table. So we would go and they would have some food that I had never even seen before. So we'd ask about it, what is that? And of course, it was some type of eggplant that I had never seen before. So I do think if we could, as farmers, to maybe grow some diverse crops, and how you would possibly do that is like what I said before, get to know your neighbors, get to know the people in your community, because if we don't know it already, our communities are changing, like, rapidly.
You hear me? Okay. I'll add to that in relation to getting to know your neighbors, and as we get involved in doing the good work, is also to be aware of all the work that is going on around you, because it turns out somebody's doing the work, and there's enough work for us all to do. We don't have to step on toes or get mad and this is this and this. There's enough work for us all to do. So find out who's doing the type of work that you want to do and see how you can bolster that work and see how they can bolster your work and work together. Because I feel like in this ag system, sometimes we got some dysfunction, but we can do a lot of good, and food brings us together. So how can we learn from others? And like I said, find out who's doing the types of work that you do, and help them. And I have a personal experience with this when I got involved in local food systems with my friend Brandy back there. Happy belated birthday, Brandy. And her husband, my work husband, we started a community garden when we wanted to make change in the food system. But it was a farm, and didn't nobody have time for that. But had we paid attention, and it was lots of learning, lots of relationship building, like you said. So there was not, like Ray was saying that too, it wasn't a bad thing to do, and I'm so thankful that happened, and it changed my life for the better. But in hindsight, I should have looked to see who was doing that kind of work and got involved in that work, and then together we would have made a bigger impact.
I want to add a word that I feel like maybe will bridge what you two are saying, is that people truly have to start caring. I think care has just gone out of the window. We are in a time where we are all individuals and living our own small individual lives, and we need people. We need socialization, we need fellowship, we need community. And we need to start caring again, and not just about others, but for ourselves. I think, this is just, of course, my personal opinion, but I think a lot of us don't care about ourselves. I think a lot of us don't value ourselves, and therefore, how can you care for your neighbor or value your neighbor? Care is in my pocket. I take care everywhere with me. My job is not a clock in, clock out. This is my calling. I've been doing this work for a very long time outside of just creating a business that finally gives me a paycheck. But care is what is that extra mile that people are no longer taking. So if it's your job and you work 9 to 5 and at 5 p.m. you're leaving your food bank and someone's in line and you're going, oh, we're closed. You don't care because you're off the clock. And yeah, you have boundaries. I'm not saying like lose all your boundaries in your life, but like there's a thin line between giving an F and literally leaving. And you could help someone and change someone's whole day by just caring an extra bit. We don't even smile at people anymore. So we really need to start caring again. We can't start doing any of the other things until we actually care about people. Like, this is your paycheck, yeah, but also we gotta get this work done. We're all going to be dying if we don't, not just oppressed people, everyone. So we all have to start caring at some point.
To piggyback off of what LaToya said, when you look at who's doing the work, we can pull out our cell phones because everybody always has them. You can't go anywhere without them. You can Google food justice, food accessibility, and find out who is actually doing the work, who you want to partner with. As for us, we had a couple of farmers that would partner with us at the very beginning. It just didn't work out. And since I was the farmer liaison, I had to do some firing. But then, I pulled out my phone one day and I saw this farm. I'm not gonna call them out. I told them that I would not. I get up, go downtown Lexington, no parking, run up to the farmer's market. Hey, do you want to partner with us? She said yes. Get back on my cell phone, try to find some other people. And Sandra Barnes is our market manager. She, every Sunday, like clockwork, she would be on Facebook finding other farmers for us to partner with. And that's how you can find out who's actually doing the work if you don't want to talk to people.
I think one of the things I wanted to say is there's no one perfect solution, that if we can all lean in in a way that's meaningful and significant to you and to your community, then that's going to be a really good start. And then there's a really big a yes and there. Lean into your community and really try to think about who is your community and how can you expand your community. And so what are your growing edges of reaching outside of your bubble? And then also some mindset work. So I'll just say, like, when Jenny asked me to be on the panel, I was like, I don't know. I'm not doing anything. I'm just running a farm and we do some things here and there. And then I started thinking about, like, I've heard Michelle Howell talk about, like, equity has always been, at the forefront, the center of their farm from the beginning. And I was like, that's actually true of us too. Like, and so I need to claim that. Like, food justice and equity has been a central part of our farm from the beginning. And so the feelings and the thoughts that come in that our society wants us to think of, I'm not good enough, the problem is too big, I'm not doing enough. Those are all thoughts that will hold you back from leaning into the relationship. Work on ways that you can, like, shift those into even just, like, starting to feel curious. Like, let me feel curious about, as everybody else has said, of my neighbors, what's going on, and use that as a starting point.
If you all don't mind, I'm going to add my 2 cents to this, just because as you all were going through, I was like, yeah. But speaking to the farmers in the room, as a farmer and someone who runs a farmer's market, who we really we're learning how to center food access in a rural space where it's hard to get to us. And what does that look like? I thought, I care about this. Surely all the farmers at our market care. And we're coming along as in year 2 of accepting SNAP, which I realize up here we're using a lot of acronyms. So just in case, sorry for doing that. I should have kind of gone through them. But SNAP is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps. So I'm sorry if it's been the whole time and you've been wondering, but that's what that stands for. So we accept SNAP, which is an EBT card, which is Electronic Benefits Transfer, another acronym that they can swipe. We accept Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program cards and WIC, Women, Infant, and Children. And then because of CFA, we're able to double the senior dollars. And I thought if, we apply for this, that surely the farmers are going to sign up, right? Because you don't just automatically, you have to go through a training to accept those, because there's a little bit of technology that you have to know before you can do it. You have to download an app and register with the system. So there's a little bit of work. And so I think what Ray said about being curious, that's my push for anyone who's maybe like, I'm not doing this now, but I'm sitting in here because I want to know how I can do this, or if it's feasible for my farm. Is to just stay curious, and maybe if that training or trainings are offered, if you are a market farmer, you sell at a farmer's market, to attend. Again, you're still not committing. It's a little bit extra, but honestly, as Martin had said at the very beginning, it is extra money for you, because those folks are going to go to the farms at your market who accept those over, because that's money not coming out of their pocket. So they're going to be able to save the other money that they have by using this benefits card that they have. So it is in your benefit to accept those and to lean in and to be willing to go the little bit extra mile to do that, or to accept the SNAP tokens that your market might have. Now, I know I'm speaking and not every market does this. I'm just saying if yours does. And you might not get reimbursed that week. You might get reimbursed every other week for that. But just holding out, you will have a little bit more money in your pocket than if you don't. So I just encourage to, what many folks up here said, is to just stay curious, and then we're only as strong as our communities. Whether we like to say we're an individual and we can do it all ourselves, it's not really true. And I think sometimes we do that as like a defense mechanism, or we've been possibly burned in the past by our community, and so we don't want to rely on folks, but we're stronger when we're together. And we're stronger when we can learn to be in community with people that are different from us in many different ways. And so that I think from my market manager side of things, I thought everyone was going to be gung-ho, and they weren't. And so each year we're picking up a few more farmers, and so I'm finding creative ways to pitch it to people. Hey, it's of your benefit to come to this training and accept senior, because it's better for our market, but it's better for them too. And so just getting creative about how I market the same thing over and over to the same people. And I'm probably going on a tangent now, so I will wrap up so we can do our last question and go to Q&A. But I like that. Think about your community and stay curious and be willing to learn what your community needs. And if you are able at the time to lean in and be part of that solution or be part of the answer to the need, I encourage you to do so, because I think it would open up like doors you wouldn't even imagine. And if you're at a point where you cannot give that, that's also okay. Maybe next year, we can't all do everything at once. So I guess I will just open it up to everyone before we do the Q&A from the app, is just any other comments or suggestions. If somebody in this room wants to plug in to the work that you're doing or to the work that's happening around the state, just any advice. And I will just remind everyone, this is just a select few people who are doing this work, but there are handfuls of people all over the state, urban and rural or peri-urban, that are doing this work. And I'm sure between all of us, we could probably help you find someone close to you if you're looking for that. Would you like to start?
Sure. So how to get involved in this work is build community and expand your community. If you don't like them, I stay in the house because my community burnt me, but that's a whole nother story. But like, you know, I love home, but home doesn't always feel like it loves me. But you can expand your community until you can heal from the trauma that home sometimes causes, and you can expand that to include the whole state. Like, this is my community. So I've focused that work that I'm doing now statewide, and I still am able to build great community and to be aware of the resources that are available and the people doing the work, like I said before, because there's people doing the work and there are an abundance of resources, and you don't have to recreate the wheel because somebody's already done it. And use extension. We often call extension the best kept secret, which is some bull, but it is the best kept secret. I grew up Barron County, born and raised in an ag-filled community, and didn't hear about extension until I was a grown woman working for early intervention. And I was like, that's a job? And I could have been doing that? I didn't know, and I was in that community. 4-H wasn't in my school, because I was a city girl. So I went to the city school, the Glasgow city schools, and then there's Barron County schools. So if you went to Barron County schools, you most likely had access to FFA and 4-H. That wasn't even an option to be a community for me at a time. So I think is being aware of the resources in your community, linking with those resources, introducing others to resources, like growing your community is a part of building community, and seek extension for help. Use them, even if they don't seem very welcoming. Go in there again. You can call us, and we'll make sure they're welcoming. We'll figure it out. So use the resources that are out there.
Yeah, I'm probably going to talk for a little second. I wanted to highlight just like and emphasize the importance of collaboration and power building. I just feel like I'm in spaces like this all the time, and some of us know each other and some of us don't, but none of us really truly work together. And I always like to be disruptive in spaces and make sure that I say that out loud, because this room could be a $50 million grant right now. So I need people to just like notice that we could do more together and better. And I also want to highlight the importance of succession planning. You may be driving the work, but you may not be here tomorrow. And so we have to get our thoughts out of our head and put it on paper and make sure the people around us on our teams are aware that this is where the vision is going. And so please make sure you have your succession plans in place. Tomorrow is not promised. I want to give you a quote. Fred Hampton once said, we got to face some facts. That the masses are poor and the masses belong to what you call the lower class. And when I talk about the masses, I'm talking about the white masses. I'm talking about the black masses and the brown masses and the yellow masses too. There's so much power in this room. We have to activate that power. I want to talk about how we're collaborating with so many different organizations, because what I believe in is a varied perspective at the table is going to yield more solutions, and all different perspectives are valued. And so we're doing some work with Finn, so shout out to Finn, Food in Neighborhoods. We're working with Finn on their Food Vision 2030. In the city of Louisville, we're establishing a Greater Louisville Food Council, which super excited about that, to be pushing some policy, because we know we can't just be begging for things, we gotta be moving it in the city and in the state and nationwide. But national partners, again, we're working with DoorDash. We're also working with Black Futures Lab. We're in a cohort right now where we're learning how to shape policy. So we're in their Black Policy Institute. So be looking out for our ordinance and things. We're about to be in Frankfort next week too. And then we're also working with the Wallace Center. We're in a farm-to-food learning lab assistance with them. And so we'll be establishing a farmer's market this year as well. So if you want to reach out to us and get your food in Black hands, please do. Also want to shout out Glean Kentucky and Feed Louisville, because without them, we just wouldn't be sustainable. Like Trader Joe's is not gonna hold us down forever. And so shout out to the local and urban farmers who are helping us with our work. They are giving us their surplus free of charge, and I really appreciate that. We just don't have the money. Like, I'm sorry, I started this company 5 years ago, I ain't there yet. I do believe in paying farmers what they are deserving to be paid, but I just don't have the money yet. But when we do, like I said again, the room, money, okay? If we all come together, we could do that, and then you could be paid an adequate wage, all right? Also wanted to shout out What Chefs Want, as well as locals with Birch Bragg, because we are partnering with them to do 100 LFPA boxes. We're putting we have dairy and meat in our boxes because we already get produce from Trader Joe's, so we are supplementing what we already get. And so 100 boxes every 2 weeks goes to Black families that are locally sourced meat and dairy. So shout out to the local farmers and the coordination of it all. And that's what, just small things like that can help a lot of people. And so if we all in here shared our values and just one thing that we could do, we could create an interconnected web of changing today and changing tomorrow.
I don't have anything to say after that.
So you're gonna make me do it? I did just want to mention, in terms of expanding your communities, the CSA Innovation Network. So this is a national network of CSA farmers that has other national connections. Had a group called the Equity in CSA Working Group, and I'm like, well, I don't have the answers, but I'm curious to learn more. And so I joined the Equity in CSA Working Group, right? And so it's just a place where you can talk to other farmers and people who are experimenting in their own communities to see what's working in different places. And learning about some really amazing solutions that are happening. So one thing that I felt really excited about was there are some farmers doing a fully sliding scale CSA where it's not like a price for the CSA, like this is what my CSA costs, which is the model that we exist in the world, right? But we're a community who are committed to feeding each other, and so you, based on your income, that is what determines the price you pay for your CSA. So our farm is right now not in a position to change our whole model to do that, but I love that idea. And so being a part of a community that's talking about ideas like that is another piece of what's gonna build these other solutions outside of the agricultural system that is working exactly as it's intended to. And then the other final thing I wanted to say that says what you were saying too is you went up to a farm partner and they said yes. Mm-hmm. And a CSA member came up to me and said hey, do you want to partner with me to do this? Yes. So thinking about what can you say yes to?
How do you put it, Taylor? I'm going to talk for a second.
I just went ahead and get mine out the way so you can go.
Well, I think as you heard, if you want justice, you got to talk about equity. And part of what equity means is that all of these good works that are happening in this community and that community, that those things are able to happen in every community. So it's about being able to bring things to scale. And in order to bring this kind of work to scale, we need a couple things. We need good models that folks can learn about and adapt, right? We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes we got to add a different spoke or a tire or something like that to it. We need to build out the infrastructure, both within our communities and within the region and the state. And all of that has to be supported by good public policy, because where does the $50 million ultimately come from? A lot of it's going to come from government, right? So that's where the policy aspect comes in, and that's why another reason why we have to all work together. And it's one reason, again, why I think CFA, and this is not a pitch about CFA, but it kind of is, is what's different about that organization, our organization, is that programs like Kentucky Double Dollars and Fresh RX for Moms, those projects are about how do we bring this stuff to scale. Right? How do we make it available in every community? And it's not. And it's not just about money. It's largely about money, but some of it is about accepting in that infrastructure and those kind of things. And that's why, ultimately I think, public policy, whether it's at the local, the state, or the federal level, is so important, because that is where We get competition here. And that's stiff competition too. Because that is how we make system change. It is through public policy. You know, that is the difference between the Brandenburg CSA, Fresh Stop Market, the difference between it lasting for 4 years and still lasting, right? It's having that public policy that supports that kind of infrastructure. I am really excited, to be honest with you, really excited about where local food systems are in Kentucky. Because for many, many folks, year 2000 was a really important point for Kentucky and local food systems. One, it's because House Bill 611 set aside millions of dollars over a long term that has been invested, a lot of it, maybe 50% of that $3.5 billion has earmarked for local food systems, and it has made an impact. We still got a long ways to go. Again, that was public policy that set all that up, right? But we are now, you know, in this legislative session right now, there's like 4 bills, right, that are actually good bills that support public policy. There is House Bill 93 that sets up the Healthy Farm and Food Innovation Fund, and that is to help create the stability for those programs like Kentucky Double Dollars, many of which rely on federal dollars, but federal dollars require a match. There's also House Bill 189 that is a Kentucky Proud Match Act, and so it is going back to helping school districts and reimbursing 33 cents for every meal that school districts use to purchase local. There's Senate Bill 34, that's the Mom's Omnibus. It's a huge bill, but within that bill too, there's more monies for schools for local food purchase. There's an additional $200,000 to support the Senior Farmers Market Nutritional Program, which Kentucky does not get enough money so that every senior in the state can participate. And another $200,000 for the WIC Farmers Market Program, right, which Jefferson County does not participate in, right? And finally, the legislators are like, the light bulbs are going off. And then for you farmers, right, there's House Bills 242 and 342 that will allow, finally, for you to do on-farm poultry processing, right? And then sell that directly. So there's only 2 states in the whole country that have not applied for the USDA waiver to allow to do that. Kentucky and Arkansas. Arkansas makes sense. Kentucky, you know. Anyway, and CFA has been lobbying on this stuff for several years, and it is really encouraging and just go through. The last thing that I really want to say is what's on the horizon. What's on the horizon is going to take local food system from where we are and make it mainstream. So it is the whole food is medicine movement. And, you know, what that looks like is, one is looking at Medicare and Medicaid and making medically tailored food boxes eligible to be supported by Medicare and Medicaid. And that could be huge, right? And when that happens, you know, that is going to change the landscape for everybody, right? But I will tell you this, that when Kentucky implements a waiver or in lieu of services policy around Medicare and Medicaid, we are not equipped in the state for all of that to be 100% local. I'm not that realistic. I mean, I'm more realistic, and I would say, but let's set some goals in there. Like, let's set 10% year 1, 15% year 2, so that we get there, right? Because I'll tell you what, I'm glad you're dealing with DoorDash, but there's a lot of others out there, right? Blue box, green box, purple box, whatever, that are ready because they're doing it in other states. So as soon as Kentucky is accepting those boxes, those corporations are willing to step in, right? And we as farmers and local farming community have to be stepping up and saying, we want a share of this pie, right? So that is going to become a game changer. I think I'm done there.
Can I just say one thing? If you are not already a member of Community Farm Alliance, then you should become a member of Community Farm Alliance and become part of the policy work that is, going to Frankfort and talking about your own experience to make these changes that we need to see on policy changes that benefit farmers and community and bridge the gap. When's the lobby day?
March 13th, yes. And you can sign up for it. Yeah. Good work.
Oh, there we go. So if we could put the questions from the Slido app up. And how we'll do this is, I don't know if you know, but if you liked it, it helps the questions rise to the top. So I'm just going to start at the top since that has 10 likes. In a world of likes, right? Okay, so, and then if anybody on the panel would like to answer multiple people, that's how we'll do until we have 20 minutes or, oh, you ready? Okay, I'm going to read the question. How do we increase access to healthier foods when unhealthy foods are offered in the grocery store at a significantly cheaper cost? Which one of you? Okay.
I like nutrition a lot. I like food a lot. And we have to stop looking at food as good or bad and start looking at food as food and thinking about the total components of what that food is. We need a variety of foods of all types. We need grains, we need proteins, we need what else? Does anybody else know? Vegetables, fruits, and what else? Dairy, thank you. There's my plate, our five food groups. And that dairy might not necessarily be cow milk dairy. You could get dairy or that type of food in a variety of options, including almond juice and oat juice or oat milk. Right? So food is food. There's no good or bad food. We need a variety of food, and that's what we need to start teaching folks. Because white rice is fine, beans are fine, and that is a healthy meal. And that is an inexpensive meal. So we need to start looking at food holistically as a bigger deal. It's not good or bad, it's just food, and we need a variety of it. More fresh fruits and vegetables if we can.
I agree. Also, I've been on food stamps my whole life. I've always ate really good meals. So this is just false. I'm so sorry to say that. I don't mean to be rude, but like, you can find really good meals in the grocery store that are fresh food, that are way less expensive than, do you know Doritos right now are like $5 a bag? So like, where we are with food prices right now, it's neck and neck. If you can buy the $5 burritos, then you can also buy you some $5 in produce and make something last for a few days. I think what we're missing is time to do things. It's the convenience of it all. So like, yeah, people are willing to spend more money on bad food because it's more convenient for their time. I can spend $15 on 2 pizzas and pop them in and he'll be good, or I would have to, do an extra prep work, then cook it, then, have it for the week and have the actual utensils I need to cook the whole meal and have everything I need to prep and store it. I think what we're missing is time. Again, that's a conversation about capitalism, honestly. But yeah, I think we just need more time to stand in the grocery store and pick items. We just don't have that anymore. Because if you're looking at the food prices, this is just not true anymore. I would say maybe 5-6 years ago, but the way food prices are right now, honey, you might as well eat fresh food.
You mentioned too, like a burrito or ramen noodles. You can make those foods more healthy. I had ramen noodles. I get dried. I really like to get those dried mushrooms from, we have an Amish salvage store, so I'll put some of those in my ramen noodles. Burritos in the frozen food section, that's quick. We got bean burritos in the house, chop up some tomatoes and some lettuce. There's a meal. It's not good or bad, it's adding more variety. Somebody else? We talk about food all day.
I thought you were going to want to answer this next one.
Which one?
this, how do we shift from programs that address, that address symptoms of food insecurity to programs/solutions that address the root causes of food and nutrition insecurity? Do you want to answer this, Martin?
Well, I'll put out my opinion.
Okay.
But the previous one,
Sorry. You seemed ready. You were looking up there like you were reading the next one. I'm sorry,
the
everybody.
previous one was how to make food more affordable in grocery stores or between, I can't remember what it was. I was just going to say, so one of the things is Kentucky Double Dollars. CFA just got a new USDA GusNIP grant to expand Kentucky Double Dollars into more retail, right? It had been in Eastern Kentucky, the IGAs, but the goal is specifically in Louisville and West End of Louisville, one of those places, to expand that program into those. You know, one of the challenges is like for Double Dollars, it's required that it has to be local. We're not going to double up, avocados from California. Sorry about that. To this one about shifting programs, there's the bigger picture thing. As I said before, and I think Ray alluded to it, ever since World War II, for 80 years, the national policy, food and ag policy in this country has been, how can we produce the most calories the cheapest way we can? And that is still the paradigm that we are operating under. This farm bill, that's not going to change, unfortunately. But, the encouraging thing, and this is what I've found, is the politicians, whether it's Frankfort or Washington, they're the last ones to pick up on something, right? And the encouraging thing is both Frankfort and DC, the politicians are seeing the connection, again, between food and health and nutrition, right? And some of them are like, oh God, the federal budget on Medicare, Medicaid, all that is just skyrocketing. And like, oh, maybe we could do something preventive on the front end that we don't have to pay on the back end. And, it's all the MCOs, the managed care organizations, are already seeing that. That's why they are supporting these kind of programs, because they're seeing the increase on their bottom line from doing that. So the light bulb is going off. It's going off in Frankfurt, it's going off in DC. So 5 years from now, there will be the opportunity in the next Farm Bill to change the direction of food and agriculture in this country from cheap calories to can we grow quality, right? Can we grow quality? Because it is our national interest to grow better food and have our people eat better food and pay farmers appropriate, for that better food. And I think for those who are on the organic bandwagon, organic is probably the best food, right? So that's the bigger picture, right?
Does anybody else on the panel want to answer? You do, Ray? Okay.
Sort of maybe more the first one, but I just loved what Taylor was
I did not mean to jump. I'm so sorry. Yes, you go
saying
answer whatever one.
about time. And I think I want to say that it's not just about the price. We have wealthy CSA members who are like, I don't know what this is, and I don't know what to do with this, and I don't know how to cook this. So the time and overwhelm, so I feel like we all live in this state of overwhelm. And again, I think that's capitalism that creates that sense of overwhelm for us. So thinking about how we can shift our bodies, our lifestyles and our bodies to get a little less and a little less state of overwhelm. Maybe you don't get all the way down to the bottom yet, but if you can go from red to yellow, and we all can get from red to yellow, then that's gonna be a start to open up some of that time for us and open up the ability to learn, because you can't learn anything if you're in a heightened state of overwhelm. And so then your work too of teaching people what the food is and how to cook it is just so vital, and so we need more programs like that. So again, more partnerships, but I don't think I have anything on that one.
I just don't want to jump again. Yeah, if you would like. And I can reread it too. How do we shift from programs that address symptoms of food insecurity to programs and solutions that address the root causes of food and nutrition insecurity?
There we go. As an organization who is currently doing addressing the symptoms part, what our approach is several folds. So not only are we doing direct service, but we are building power with the people we're serving. And so they become their own self-advocates. They build power, they can speak for themselves, they can call their own council people, they know what to say, we have scripts. And so an example of our power is that last year in summer, there was $5 million that was about to slide through our budget for an organization who didn't need it. And so all I did was information disseminate. Hey, neighbors, did you know this organization in your neighborhood is about to get $5 million? And we're wondering, what do they do for you? Because we're not getting $5 million. And we're also not asking for the $5 million. We're just letting people know, like, this is about to happen in your neighborhood and you're completely unaware of it. And in like 3 weeks, that $5 million did not happen because we just let people know this is what was going on. And so back to information dissemination, it builds a lot of power just telling people what's happening, what to do about it. The people that we're serving, they care about food justice. They know that they don't have adequate access to food. They know that there's more grocery stores on the other side and they don't even have transportation to go get it. They are aware and they're mad about it. All we gotta do is help direct the anger into action.
Okay, I'm gonna go on to the next one. How do we advocate to reduce quality food availability challenges in rural locations? Do you want to start?
Policy, that's my answer. It's long and short.
I guess I live in a rural location, even though I'm a town girl, and I think that we advocate for policy there. What was the question? How do we advocate to reduce quality food availability? Oh, the information dissemination. Also, people need to be aware of food distribution sites. Because that's a problem in rural areas because folks don't have transportation there and the site might be 10, 15 miles. In Barron County alone, we have 45,000 people and the town, Glasgow is the town center and there's a food distribution site there, but there's also one in our Cave City area. But then there's other parts of the county who are not necessarily receiving regular food distribution. So making folks aware of when these things happen and who's quality food? Somebody else want to go?
I just piggyback off that and say repeat the information multiple times in multiple ways, in multiple avenues. As many times as you can share it in a different creative way, you should do that. Because you think everyone sees your Facebook post or everyone sees your flyer. Most do not. So you got to catch people in any way you can.
With Extension, and I'm marketing, and that's my job, marketing. We have a lot of resources that you could use to reshare. You can take them from our page and reshare them as your own. That's what we're here for, is to create those resources. For example, Plate It Up Kentucky Proud page, that was a partnership between KDA and Extension that was founded many years ago. There's 100 of recipes, right, that feature local foods and ingredients. You can take from that, share that on your page. You don't have to create it. Use what we have already available for you.
Somebody else? You got it.
To address that question, also, like, if you're in a rural area, buy fresh produce in your grocery store, or at your farmer's market. I feel like that question is specifically talking more about like grocery access. And so I think that people, like grocery stores provide what people buy. And so as Kentuckians, we're not eating like enough fruits and vegetables. So we need a culture shift. I don't know exactly how to create a culture shift other than like doing what we're all in this room already doing and continuing to do that and spread the word and educate. But like, if we change our diet as a culture, then the agriculture system will change.
And I'll speak to that. I live in a county that's like 6,000 people, county. And we have an IGA, and you can't get red onions at the IGA. You can get white ones, and you can get yellow ones, but you cannot get a red onion there. And sometimes you can't get a sweet potato. So if I wasn't the only one going in to get those things, then I think I could probably get them. So I'm just, from experience, I was like, oh, I just need one real quick. And then I was like, not an option. And you know when you need a red onion, you need a red onion. You do not substitute the other ones for that one. So does anyone else want to answer this one? We have like a little less than 10 minutes, 7 minutes. So I'll go to the next one. And we kind of started to answer this, but just to dig in a little more. As a farmer, how can I connect with programs or individuals that would benefit from healthy food? I think it was the end of that. Oh, sorry, it skipped down. As a farmer, how can I connect with programs or individuals that would benefit from healthy food? Okay. It should just start working, I think.
Or I can just talk loud. Okay, so, it's on.
There it goes.
Is it on? Yeah. Okay, so I've mentioned this before, and everybody has a cell phone. What we actually do is we reach out to people by email. We do networking at events and forums like this conference. If you are a farmer at a farmer's market, you can have a sign that, promotes that you are a farmer that advocates for food justice. There are folks here right now that you can reach out to. You've got Food Chain, you've got the Food Connection here. You can share with others to advocate with other farmers.
I don't know for sure if this is true, but I know that when Maria and Constance came to my farm, they came into my house and looked at my bookshelf and saw some of the books that were on there and could see that I was interested in racial justice and food justice, and I talk about it maybe a little bit in my newsletters, and I have a little spurses of things on the website. So yes, I'm interested in it and I talk about it. So being as a farmer, if you're wanting, I know it can be hard as a farmer with all the things that we're doing to be go up to some random person or random organization to be like, hey, I want to partner with you. And that also I think would be maybe hard from the partner's standpoint. I don't know. Maybe not. Go up to somebody. But I guess what I'm saying is the more you learn about it and the more you talk about it, then the more of those relationships will develop and will open up for you to build from a relationship to a partnership.
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. And I think everybody wants someone to do the ask. Sometimes we're afraid of doing the asking ourselves, but if somebody approaches us, we're glad about it.
Sorry. I interpret this literally because my brain does things. So when it talks about organizations or individuals, I'm thinking about the capacity that a farmer may have, and it may be easier to reach out to an organization or a program than trying to find individual people who are hungry, who need access to the fresh food. So one, I would definitely not spin my wheels and just are you hungry? That would take too much. But contacting organizations that are doing the work, and then see if they can connect you with organizations that are closer. Because one thing I'm gonna say on this stage, I'm not trying to be connected to every farmer and picking up every amount of stuff. I don't have the capacity. We're not driving over an hour to do that. We just don't have the funding. But we can help you identify other organizations that are closer to your neighborhood so that you can, become actionable in this work. Some ways that you all could help Change Today, Change Tomorrow is that we are having a summit. We went to the Hunger in Kentucky summit and it was very white, and we realized we needed to do a summit with Black people. Yeah, I be in spaces, okay? Yeah, and it was like 6 black people there, and it was very white. It was over 100 people there. And so we wanted to flip the script and do our own food summit with the people that we feel like are experts in hunger, i.e. the people who are oppressed and are hungry. So that'll be April 13th. We are looking for sponsors and vendors as well as volunteers. We host an annual vegan cook-off every year. It's a really good time for us to ingratiate people into vegan cooking. I know for me, I'm not gonna go cook a vegan meal if I don't know what quinoa even tastes like. So I'm gonna go through a recipe, go to the store, get all the meal, cook the meal, then realize I don't even like quinoa, okay? So the vegan cook-off is to expose black families and anybody to vegan dishes in a variety. So we have up to 10 different cooks. They come in and make different dishes so that people can taste the meals without having to go home and cook them and waste their money and their time and their patience. And then they also are given a recipe so they can go home and cook the meal. And at the vegan cook-off, we give them a bag of produce from a local farmer. Shout out to Cleve's Family Farm, Travis Cleaver. And then in the fall, we do a 5K direct action walk. We call it a 5K because we're a nonprofit. It helps us get sponsors, but really it's a direct action where we walk from a park to the closest grocery store to highlight the lack of access to fresh food, as well as the lack of access to transportation. And so that'll be in the fall. If you wanna reach out to me, just do so. And I also need people to help me after this because I want to flyer everybody's car out there, and I brought flyers. And so I need about 5 people to help me in the parking lot after this. Thank you so much.
A couple things to the farmer question. I don't know, what you're raising, where you are, how you're marketing or anything. But I will say there's a couple organizations. You can reach out to CFA and just talk to a staff, and they can direct you, to some of that. Kentucky Center for Ag and Rural Development is another one, K-Card. A couple other organizations that I want to lift up here, because there was a question about the bills. I want to know the bill numbers again. Kentucky Food Action Network, KFAN, is a network of, I don't know, maybe 80 organizations right now, and they're focused, a lot on policy. So you can read on those policies, as well as Community Farm Alliance. You can get to either one of those organizations through the other's website on it. And they have the bills on there, but I will again read those. House Bill 93, House Bill 189, Senate Bill 34. That thing is huge, so you might get lost in that. But then I'll say House Bill 342 is the poultry bill.
Thank you, everybody. And so we're going to break, and just to remind everyone, for 15 minutes from 2:45 to 3, there's a functional movement stretch break, and I believe it's in room A. So if you need to move, this way, Robin? Okay, you go this way. All right, thank you, everybody.